YouTube, what is going on, guys? In today's episode, we are going to talk about the top 5 reasons that you need to buy a Toyota Celica GT-S. Let's get right into it. Alright guys, the number one reason you guys want to pick up a Celica GT-S is the engine inside of it. The 2ZZ-GE is an awesome engine commissioned by Yamaha for a high revving, fun experience as you drive. Now at about 6,000 RPM, your cam profile will switch over similar to Honda's VTEC and give you instant power as it's coming on. You get a nice power kick in the curve, and it just seems like a little turbo as you're driving. It's really fun to do. It makes you want to rev all the way out to redline. It makes you want to land and lift as you go, and it screams and sounds awesome. On these engines varied by what year you get and of course what ECU you have. In mine, you guys can see that I have a supercharged edition here. This is an aftermarket supercharger. I do have an aftermarket ECU in here, which lets you control the lift set points. I can lower it down and tune for it, but it's not advised to do on a stock engine. The real Achilles heel to these engines is only the oil pump. Any bit of oil starvation will ruin this engine, so a lot of people opt to get an aftermarket oil sump or switch out to the lower end 1ZZ model. It's known for these 2ZZ models that if you are taking hard turns over and over and over again, you might create oil starvation and blow your engine. Now that's the one bad thing about this motor, but other than that, it holds Toyota's reliability name. It really keeps everything easy, buying, servicing parts and servicing the engine. It's an inline 4, just like any other low-end kind of Toyota engine. It's very easy to work on. Parts are cheap, and that's what I love about this thing. It's very easy to replace anything that you need to. It's very cheap to find parts. It's very accessible to find parts, and you know that the parts will last because it is a Toyota. Now, another aspect that a lot of people tend to look at is the lift bolts. On the earlier pre-face models on the 2000 to 2002, similar to mine here, the lift bolts would shear and cause you to not be able to change your cam profile over, essentially negating everything that is lift, and you would not be able to experience this. So there is a TSB out for the Toyota Service Bulletin to correct this. If you guys have any of those years, 2000 to 2002, or are looking to purchase one, make sure that you do either have this service performed, do it yourself, or make sure that there is paperwork to do this, or else you might land yourself in some hot water. If you do shear the bolts, it's a pain. You must use a bolt extractor to get them out. If you're lucky enough, you can just replace them. The bolts themselves are about $3 from the dealer. So it's an easy project to do as long as the bolt hasn't sheared already. But it is one of those things. The oil pump and the lift bolts are annoying, but lift is so good to experience, it outweighs the cons. Alright guys, my number 2 reason for you to buy a Celica GT-S is the handling of them. When Toyota designed this car, they were looking at an economy sports car for people to have fun driving in, and they did not miss that mark at all. With about 180 horsepower, like I said, and about a curb weight of 2,500 pounds, they're really nimble to drive, they handle like go-karts, and they're just all around fun to drive. I don't think people understand it unless they drive them, that you can throw these things into corners and they'll just take it and spit it right back at you. They're really awesome. I really think that Toyota took a lot of design from their previous generations of the Celica with the Rally Sport and everything like that to make sure that these cars handled well. I think for a lot of people it missed the mark because they were front wheel drive instead of rear wheel drive. However, once you get in it and once you drive it and you drive it sportingly, you will understand that it is a super fun car. Where I really think the Celica succeeds is in the corners. I think it really succeeds in the mountain roads, the curves, and everything else. In a straight line, the Celica can be a little bit underwhelming. However, when you throw it into a corner, you can pass about nearly anybody on the track and keep up with the big dogs in the curves, or even surpass them. But you might fall a little bit behind in the straights. Alright guys, my number 3 reason to buy a Celica GT-S is the styling on them. Now these cars are nearly 20 years old and they still keep up with modern day cars in looks. They are awesome to look at, everything on them still looks up to date and nothing looks outdated. Some of the earlier 2000s Hondas, you can obviously tell that they're 20 years old, they don't really fit in anymore, but with an aero kit and any sort of updating on the Celica, like these headlights that I have on mine, it looks modernized, it looks so good and nothing is outdated. Now you have to remember, my car is 20 years old and really it looks like it still fits in with new cars rolling off the lot now. And I mean seriously, look at this thing. It just looks so good. It looks like an older supercar, or it looks like some sort of variation of a modern car that you just don't see, which is awesome. They really fit in with traffic, nothing looks outdated, and you're not embarrassed to drive them, even after 20 years. They're great cars. Alright guys, now my 4th reason to pick up a Celica GT-S is the Toyota name. It's a Toyota Celica. When you buy Toyota, you know you guys are going to get something reliable, you know you're going to get something that lasts. People on the 2ZZ motors consistently get 200,000 miles out of them with ease, with just regular maintenance, nothing special. They don't need a lot of rebuilds on them. Now, when you look at a Celica GT, that's the 1ZZ model, you have sort of oil issues, oil burning issues and stuff like that, but we're talking about a Celica GT-S here, the 2ZZ model. Besides the oil pump issue, nothing is really a big concern to drive these cars with. It's very easy to get in, it's very easy to trust and go forth, put a lot of miles on them, and expect cheap parts. Every sort of big AutoZone or O'Reilly's or any automotive dealer has parts for Toyotas. You're not looking at something that's old and doesn't have service parts anymore. And with the 2ZZ model, you're also looking at an interchangeable model with the Vibe, and Lotus even has parts. And so if you're ever looking for some sort of OEM part, be it any sort of engine build part or rebuild kit or anything like that, you have more than just the Celica GT-S to look for. You can look into matrix kits and all sorts of other swaps. So the reliability of them and the accessibility of having a Toyota engine is awesome, and I think that that is something super safe for somebody who's getting a first car or something that they don't really have to worry about. Getting a Toyota name is super worth it. Alright guys, lastly, my 5th reason to own a Celica GT-S is the uniqueness factor of them. You don't see them on the roads a lot. Modified, they look super clean. Really, a lot of people find them underwhelming, and they usually say that they hate them until they see a really clean one. I get it all the time with mine, that people say that they're not a fan of Celicas until they've seen mine, or they've heard mine, or they've ridden in it if they were lucky enough for me to offer them a ride. And really, it's just awesome because it's fun seeing cars that you own on the same street, but when everybody has the same car, you don't really stand out. So having a Celica GT-S is really awesome because everybody will ask you what it is. A lot of people don't know what they are if they're not familiar with the car culture or the name. It seems kind of exotic just by the name. And a lot of times whenever I go get gas or something like that, the older generations will ask me if it's a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something like that, and they just don't know, which is hilarious to me. But it's awesome to have a unique car that people look at, they really see, and kind of it wows them over your typical Honda Civic or Subaru or something like that. Now, with that does come more expensive parts. There's not really that much of an aftermarket scene for the 2ZZ motor. There are a few companies that make performance parts for them. Obviously, you know, you can find superchargers and turbo kits and go forth with that. But like with having the uniqueness factor, you're kind of limited on how many people support the car. But I do think it outweighs the cons because it's awesome having a car that nobody else has, and you're kind of different, and everybody likes that, and everybody likes to see something new. And so when you build it right and you build it properly, a lot of people are impressed by it. And when you're driving down the road, you know that you have something that nobody else can really copy, which is really fun. Alright guys, those are my top 5 reasons for you to purchase a Toyota Celica GT-S. I really love these cars. I hope other people find them as interesting as I do. I've had mine for so many years and I love the community in it. I love the engine itself. I've never had a hiccup with it in the past probably 9 years that I've owned it. Mine does just have about 50,000 miles on it. I don't really drive the car that much, but I do know a lot of people with a lot more miles on them, and I know that my car is safe enough to drive for another 150,000 miles without a worry. I really like the uniqueness factor of it. It's really fun to drive. It's always turning heads, and it's always enjoyable to drive. If you guys have any sort of other concerns or any sort of questions about these cars, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. And if you guys have any other reasons why you love your Celica GT-S or your Celica GT, the 1ZZ model, let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested to see what you guys do and why you guys pick these cars. I really like them for these top 5 reasons, but again, it's just my opinion. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.